Hey guys, JJ here. The guys have just left, and I'm recording this in post because I know that the three of us do joke around a lot, and this is something a little more serious that I wanted to talk about real quick. As I mentioned in a previous episode, I recently went to a con held here in Kansas City. The con was great, but there was something that I witnessed that did strike a bit of a nerve. I wanted to briefly address it here on the show. I'm not going to go into the details of what happened, and it wasn't like super serious or anything, but I do feel that it warrants some sort of attention at least. As, quote, geeks, sometimes we try to hide the fact that we game, watch anime, play board games, spend a lot of time in front of the computer, the list goes on. Those of us that do this, we know there really isn't anything wrong with it. It's what we're into, and anybody else who's into the same thing, they're not going to judge us for it either. That's kind of what I wanted to bring up. I really want to drive the point home that even though there are those out there who might not agree with what we're passionate about, it doesn't matter at all. I started the Frozen North because I wanted to share my gaming experiences with my friends and any other people that might like to hear what we had to say. I never would have met Mark or Brian if I hadn't at some point put myself out there. In junior high and high school, I hid what I did for fun because I was so scared to get ridiculed for it. Because of that, I didn't have more than a handful of friends that I would actually consider close. I knew people and I hung out with people, of course, but there was almost no one that I could talk to about how stoked I was that I beat Final Fantasy VII without using Knights of the Round, who would actually understand what I was talking about. They'd just look at me like I was crazy, or tell me I needed to get a new hobby or something like that. I hate the fact that people think they need to hide their passions just because they feel that they might be inadequate. You're not inadequate. You have other people with the same passions and interests that you have. You just have to be willing to put yourself out there. Now, I'm not saying you to go running into a crowded mall screaming at the top of your lungs that you're a level 4 half-elf druid looking for a party to down an evil necromancer in Dungeons & Dragons. But, if somebody asks you, what do you do for fun? Tell them you like gaming. Tell them you like anime. Tell them you like playing on the computer. Don't shy away from it. You might be surprised. Brian's a perfect example. I never would have even hung out with him. We worked in retail together, and he worked on the complete opposite end of the store from me. But because I talked to a couple other guys who mentioned that they played WoW, somehow it finally got around to him that I also played, and 4 of us, 5 of us, and eventually there was 11, 12 of us in the store that we found out that all played. And just to have that in common with people that you didn't even know a few days or a few weeks before, it's an awesome feeling. But you won't get that unless you put yourself out there and you tell people that you are into this stuff. Even if you do have to, swim through the river of fish crap to get to that island. Once you get to that island, it's awesome. All of us here at the Frozen North, we've had an absolute blast so far meeting new people. Even though, yes, it's only over the internet, we still feel that we've made so many new friends all over the world already. And, we're so excited to see what the future of our little community has in store. That's what gaming has done for us. I honestly encourage all of you not to be afraid to tell people who you are, and not to be afraid to say that you like gaming, anime, any of that stuff. We're here to let you know that you're not alone. There are other people with the same interests, and honestly, if you tell us about how you just got that epic shield from downing the latest raid boss in WoW, we will tell you how awesome that is, because we do understand. So, please just don't be afraid of who you are, and that's what I want this community to kind of be and become, is a place like some sort of online haven. I know there's plenty of them out there and stuff like that, but you'll never hear myself, Brian, or Mark ever ridicule anybody for liking a game. We might give each other crap because, our tastes differ. And honestly, without that, we'd have a pretty boring show if we just agreed with each other all the time. But one of the great things about gaming is that there really is something for everybody out there. And to ridicule somebody else just because they have a different taste than you is ridiculous. And to ridicule somebody just because they like gaming in general is even more ridiculous. But it's something that we as gamers have to put up with. And I'm just kind of trying to drive home that screw them, Anyways, I know I kind of went on a little bit of a rant here, but thanks for listening. And thank you for the support that you guys have shown us. 20 episodes in now. It's awesome so far, and we want to keep doing what we're doing. So without any further ado, please enjoy episode 20, our top 5 things we miss from gaming. Hello and welcome to the Frozen North, episode number 2020.
What number?
20?
2020.
20.
Is that before
It's
14 or
2020.
after?
That is, what?
Huh?
You said it's episode 2020.
Yep.
2020.
2020.
2020?
2020.
We have done so many shows.
Coming at you from the future.
Man, Brian's
Frozen
finally
North
back.
Podcast. Hey!
Well, how's it been, Brian?
Man, I've been on my flying car and... Are we still in 2020? Oh, yep. Yeah. Morse code made a huge comeback. Morse code made a giant comeback. It's now how we communicate to everybody. Instead of saying hello, it's a...
We're never going to let you live that down. But
That's okay.
just in case.
But
So.
but I like to think that Mark was like maybe like his brain was in like the 30s, maybe even the 20s, and then somebody said make a futuristic sound. He was like, oh,
I'll tell you
So
what.
we pushed it to the 50s.
yeah, exactly. He went way up.
That's exactly right.
Oh, man. Hello, welcome to the Frozen North yet again.
Hey.
My name is JJ, and I will be your
Fearless leader.
confidant, your guide, your father figure, and your buddy all through this journey. I'm here with my 2 confidants and buddies, but far from father figures. First up, we've got Mark.
Oh yeah. Are you ready for the goldenness and the boldness?
Of what?
I'm the cream of the crop, JJ.
That doesn't... That,
What does that
What?
mean?
It doesn't make a bit of difference. I'm the cream of the crop.
and I'm here with Brian, who's back from
My
a
Mass Effect binge.
Brian, how's it?
couple episode hiatus.
Yeah,
How you feeling?
Good. I had to go into rehab for Mass Effect, as you guys know, in the couple episodes before. I
Absolutely.
had a little breakdown. So what I did was play Mass Effect, the whole series, 400 bajillion times between then and now. So I
Well,
feel
it's
like
2,000 years. So,
Yeah.
or no, wait. 2020.
That
isn't
would be
Yeah.
6 years.
6 years.
6 years.
Wow, man.
That's 6 years. In the
Well, I
future.
consider now to be 0.
yeah.
I'm just
So-
trying to defend a point that
yeah.
made me sound like an idiot.
Well,
so
that's okay.
I got nothing.
All right. Well, so yeah.
Yeah, I believe. No, I'm back. Was on a little vacation and then feel good. I missed you guys. Missed you guys.
Nobody else?
Why'd you say it
Nah.
like that?
I missed because I missed
He,
you
he
guys.
meant the listeners.
I missed
That's why
you
he pointed
guys,
to the mic.
and I pointed to you, Mark. Missed you guys, and then I also pointed to the mic, but no one can see that, so I'm gonna have
Yep.
to go ahead and.
It's always good to use physical, visual humor when you're
Yeah.
on an audio podcast.
I agree with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Speaking of
A little slapstick.
hilarious visual humor, my face. So,
That's true. It's got me there.
bam.
Absolutely.
All right, we'll be back.
Well, let's jump into it on this
All right.
glorious episode 20. What you guys been playing? Brian, you've been gone, so you get to start us off.
Okay, God, I've had so little time to play games in this past month. I've gotten like a sporadic hour or two here. My job's been picking up a little bit, and I'm still doing the work for 2, so 10-hour days, yay.
No, he's not pregnant.
no.
That's not what he meant.
No, not pregnant, guys.
Yes, he is.
But when I get a little bit of time, I have tried. When I first started to get busy, I tried to play Xenogears when I had time. But the problem with those kind of RPGs is you really want to play for like long swaths of time, and getting an hour and a half to play really just it got annoying trying to find a save point. Like, okay, I gotta go, but I gotta find a save. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna shelf that for now. So I've been playing games that are like little one-offs. Like I've been playing a little bit more Killzone. WoW, you jump on, do a little quest here and there to get my legendary cloak. About it. I'm hoping to get back into gaming full swing here pretty quick.
Mark?
Mass Effect 3.
Oh, a good choice.
That about it?
That is... Wait. And Titanfall for like 3 hours.
How was it?
How was your new
was-
X-Bone?
It's good. I really am not good at it, but it's fun. It's really cool. It's unique.
Good.
What do you think of the system so far as a whole? Obviously, it's early, and you only have one game, but
It's
still.
hard to say when there's not a lot of games for it yet.
Yeah.
The Kinect, I mean... There's,
Yeah.
I had trouble when the game was playing. It couldn't hear me through the sound of the game a lot of times. So that was a problem. On the dashboard, it's okay, but you still kind of have to play on its terms rather than it having just like an intuitive interface.
Sure.
The controller is really nice, though.
As always.
Mm-hmm.
Not really a fan of the Xbox controller. Never have been.
Tisk, tisk.
I think it's because, like, Xbox, the first Xbox, no way. That thing was like holding a 4-pound Frisbee. It was awful.
Then they had the S controller after that.
The 360 was comfortable, but I'm so used to, like, PlayStation and Super Nintendo controls that trying to make me memorize another set of buttons, like the X and Y are reversed from, the Super Nintendo. So I'm like, I have to, I look like a
Yeah.
freaking noob having to look down every couple of seconds to figure out what button I'm pushing.
I actually think the PlayStation controllers are too small. Like, I don't know where to put my my fingers that aren't on the face buttons.
Well, speaking of that, have you tried the PS4 controller?
Not yet, but I know
that
it's
might
bigger.
that might run give a Xbox controller a run for its money.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
Yeah. Well, there was a demo set up at a Best Buy, and I was playing it, and man, I mean, it still has that PlayStation feel, but it's bigger, wider.
Yeah.
And
That's
so
what it
people
needs
with
to be.
bigger hands have an easier time with it. So
Cool.
yeah.
Me personally, I have also been playing Mass Effect 3. Just finished it up, and we'll talk about that on our next episode. But I'll just say I liked it. I did. It was a nice little wrap up to the series, to a great series. And other than that, I played a little bit of Final Fantasy 14, and I've been grinding like crazy on Bravely Default. I went up 10 levels just in one
Nice.
spot, just grinding up. So it's
It's a good game for that.
it's so easy because you just auto battle like crazy. You just walk around, turn the encounter rate up, and you're good to go. All right then. If this is your first time listening to the Frozen North, just gonna give you a quick rundown of what we do here. We are just a gaming podcast. We talk about story-focused gaming like RPGs, adventures, basically anything that holds our attention and makes us think about the game world and the characters and places in it. If you'd like to contact us, our email address is frozennorthpodcast@gmail.com. We've got a Facebook page up at facebook.com/thefrozennorth. We have a Twitter at FN Podcast. Our blog is frozennorthpodcast.blogspot.com. Please subscribe.
Please
Subscribe.
subscribe.
Guys,
Subscribe.
He went all Canadian on us.
Subscribe to and rate us on iTunes. We got another 5-star review on there, but there was no comment. So if you're listening, thank you very much, whoever you are. We appreciate it. And just tell us what you think, what you like, what you don't like. We want feedback. So we'll hop right on into it. Oh, I wanted to give a quick shout out as well. Wingley left us a nice comment on our blog. Appreciate it, man. He says, glad to see you guys back. Brian's awesome, which is ridiculous.
Woo!
Oh, I feel like that.
I'm awesome.
You feel he's
that-
awesome?
No, I don't feel he's awesome. I feel like that compliment for Brian cancels out the hate mail that we got from David.
Well, yeah, but we asked for just nothing but hate mail.
I know.
So the fact that we even got one is ridiculous. So, but the rest of his stuff looks pretty good. So, it says, although your Brian impressions are uncannily good. Well, thank you very much.
Yeah.
So, been listening to the show since the RP Gamer plug back then, weekly format. He's excited about. And he says about the interview with Ryan last week from the Suikoden Revival movement. It's one movement I can get behind. Suikoden was one of my favorite series, and his comments on the state of Japanese RPGs and the false dichotomy are bang on. Might seem a bit trite, but creative people have always been inspired by their counterparts elsewhere. Elsewhere.
Do you subscribe to that pronunciation?
Good Lord, man. The film Seven Samurai, which actually I just started watching this series, and it's really good. And The Magnificent Seven, supposedly the Japanese magical girl show genre, was inspired by Bewitched. I haven't played Final Fantasy for a long time, probably since 10, but I really only truly enjoyed it up to and including 7. I don't like the arguments of the big games company that RPGs are niche and couldn't generate enough revenue like the AAA titles. A real lack of flexibility, in my opinion. RPGs shouldn't need a huge graphics and animation budget because the key features are character development and plot, and budgets should match the size of the demographic. If they won't cater, I hope the indie outfits will.
And I think they are.
That's what they're in. Yeah, that's why the indie game scene's gotten really big because, unfortunately, while I agree with him, unfortunately, RPGs are niche.
But I think his argument was, then make a smaller team and make a smaller RPG.
But that's what
because you can still get probably the same profit margin.
But these companies aren't looking for smaller teams, smaller margin. They're looking for bigger team, bigger margin.
I didn't say smaller margin.
But at the same time, I think RPGs aren't as niche as they used to be.
No, but we're past the days of a Final Fantasy game coming out and being the number one talk, other than like, now it's going to be the Call of Duties, the Grand Theft Autos.
Well, and that's what we need. We need another Final Fantasy VII. We need another game that like you see a commercial for it on TV. It looks amazing. People play it and they're like, "Oh my gosh, this is what these games are like." That's what that game did when it came out, and we haven't seen something like that in a while.
And I do want to say that I wish I was here
for JRPGs.
I wish I was here
Correct.
for that interview.
Correct. Absolutely.
For that interview last week, so I could have thrown some, because you guys were just so nice to Ryan. I thought his interview was great, but I was going to throw some.
Were you going to tell him
curveballs.
that you didn't think?
I was going to say, hey Ryan, do you agree that 108 is too many? And if you do agree,
unacceptable.
Please speak. And
oh my goodness.
I'm kind of glad he wasn't here.
That was an excellent episode. But I would have liked to have thrown him some curveballs, because that's what I do. I'm Brian the curveball guy.
How can you say 108's not? I mean, that's the exact right amount.
we got a handful of good comments about it. I mean,
that was a very good interview.
Yeah,
he really was.
He was
fantastic.
awesome. I really enjoyed talking to him.
If you haven't gone back and listened to our last episode 19, honestly, I think it's probably my favorite episode that we've done so far, simply because of Ryan's interview.
Yeah.
He's such a nice guy,
and
he's so he made me feel so dumb with how intelligent he was, and just his insight and the things that he was saying, especially like Weenley said here when he talked about the state of Japanese RPGs at the moment and stuff. I think he was bang on with a lot of the things he was saying. And I wholeheartedly agree with a lot of it. And it's just even if you don't know what, the Suikoden series is, go check it out, because, man, the interview was just awesome. It really was.
Yep.
So I've talked to him a couple of times since then, and, he's offered to come back. And, I'd love to have him back when we do Suikoden 2 or something. We'll talk about that in the future. But right now, definitely go listen to our last episode. And, obviously, support the movement. Go to their Facebook page and check them out. So, with that, why don't we go ahead and move on to what's next on the list, which is news with Brian.
Guys, I'm back for some news, and I got some good ones for you guys today. My first bit of business is to talk about Project Spark and the backlash that, surprise, surprise, microtransactions got, so that they actually decided to scale it back. Whether this scale back is just temporary, it remains to be seen, but they've been modified. They're in beta right now, as you know, and they started to move forward with a ton of microtransactions. Like, hey, you want to make this animation here? Buy this. People were just like, no. This is supposed to be an imaginative game, world creating tool, and you're making us buy assets for it, like at regular intervals.
I actually don't get the concept behind it still. It seems more like a marketing thing than anything. It's like a tool for making games, but it's not really a professional level tool.
No, it's more like a tool to craft. It's thinking about like RPG Maker, only way more
sophisticated, but possibly not as. I don't know. I'd need to have some hands-on time with it to understand.
It's a world creating tool, basically. Mm-hmm. The next bit of business. How do you guys feel about microtransactions? Like,
I love them.
No, like, truthfully, is there a way that a company can do them right?
Include them in the game and don't have them.
So basically, no, they can't do them right.
I think microtransactions are okay if you're doing cosmetic stuff.
Sure.
If you're doing like, you want a different outfit for your main character? Sure, great, absolutely. Pay 99 cents, get a new, shirt and pants or whatever, or a new hat or something like that.
So basically, what Steam does.
Correct.
I think though the temptation to hold stuff back in order to have that as an add-on is too great for a lot of companies to resist.
Yeah, definitely. And that's what sucks. You know, because it could be something as simple as just saying you want a new hat on your character, boom, pay us 99 cents.
If you don't, it's not going to affect the content.
Instead, you want a new party member with a whole new side quest?
Yeah.
that'll affect the outcome of the end of the game, pay us $20.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's a Mass Effect 3
No,
problem.
and I got a lot of and now we're gonna in our next episode I'm gonna get into that. I have a rant, but that's for neither here nor there. And the next bit of business in the news is Sony eases PS4 indie development with new publishing tools. As if Sony's support of independent developers hasn't been apparent enough, the console manufacturer will make it easier for indies to bring their games to Sony platforms. The company announced partnership today to offer PS4 exporting tools for game development software, GameMaker Studio, and Monogame for free to licensed Sony computer entertainment developers. Basically reaffirming Sony's commitment to the small guy, which is exciting. I feel like the indie market is a lot like the independent film movement, where you can get some beautiful products out of that.
Absolutely.
And
Definitely.
it's starting to grow. Moving on, Gauntlet. If you guys are familiar with the Gauntlet series, I am very familiar with it. I love it. It is returning this summer. Warner Brothers Interactive and developer Arrowhead Game Studios are reviving Gauntlet on PC/Steam as part of their ongoing WB Games Vault initiative. Yay!
What has Arrowhead Studios done?
They sound familiar, but I don't know. The game retains its classic dungeon-crawling beat-em-up structure, including co-op gameplay of the warrior, wizard, Valkyrie, and elf, as well as the top-down camera view.
You think they'll have unlockable characters like the other Gauntlet games?
I would hope so.
I would hope so, yeah.
I just looked up the developer, and it's actually the guys behind Magicka.
Ooh.
So that bodes incredibly well for the game.
Yes,
'cause
it does.
There's a
Played
lot
Magicka,
of
so.
you haven't.
Huh.
It has a lot of the
Same aspects.
aspects that you would want from a Gauntlet game. So
Have you? You played it?
Oh, Magicka? No.
Yeah.
what?
No. But I'm agreeing.
I appreciate
No, no,
Brian
no, no,
agreeing
no,
with
listen.
me. Thank you, Brian.
I'm agreeing with
Good
Mark.
Lord.
I'm agreeing with Mark that a developer who is, I know Magicka is a very popular.
It's a renowned developer, so
Yeah.
that's good news.
You understand why it's hard for us to take you seriously sometimes, right?
Is it because of my beautiful, beautiful beard?
Yeah, that's
Yes.
it. That's
Well,
definitely
that's understandable. Anyway, our next bit of news business is about BioShock. I'm sure most of you heard about this. They're basically, as we know them, Irrational Games is dissolving. Ken Levine, studio head Ken Levine, plans to start a new, smaller team at 2K following the dissolution of his development team. I think he's trying to steer the company away from like the whole. You guys know about the debacle that happened with the art of BioShock Infinite, the box art.
Nope.
Basically, Ken Levine brought them a design he wanted for the box art, and they were like, we need the man in front with a gun with the girl behind. Basically, this needs to look more like Call of Duty.
Wow.
It's marketing.
Yeah.
And, honestly, Ken said he didn't care because he just wanted people to play his game, so he didn't. But I think in the end, when you bring somebody a vision and they say, because they had Elizabeth behind Booker when really Elizabeth was more of the focal point, and they're trying to have the guy with the single guy with the gun on the cover. That's the machismo male.
Right.
Buy this game. It's awesome. It's got guns.
Yeah.
I don't think he liked it, and I think he's trying to. This is kind of a, maybe not a microcosm, but it's he's just trying to create his own vision without having companies going, well, we focus tested. Like, okay, who cares?
Yeah.
Yep. So that's that. Hopefully, he'll also be coming out with incredible games. Our next bit of business is EA and Microsoft nominated for Worst Company in America. I believe this is the second year in a row for EA, and then Microsoft now jumps on. Here's my take. This is really there's really no news to this. It's just a little bit, but I want to give you my take on why this is happening. Companies like Microsoft and EA, they are getting really good sales from DLC and microtransactions, so they assume that means we love them or that they're popular. And while they are popular, I don't think people like them. I think us as gamers, we love our content so much that we're willing to pay to see more of it. Like Mass Effect, I was going to buy the DLC regardless of its price because I love the series so much. And honestly, we hate DLC and microtransactions so much, but us as gamers, we're responsible for the reason they're here because we consume them.
Yeah.
They're not going to. If we didn't consume them, they wouldn't sell them.
Obviously.
If you had poop smelling soap and you release it and no one buys it, you're probably going to stop that smell. Right? So
brilliant. That really illustrates the point, I think, perfectly.
And I know this is hard. I know this is hard for us because as gamers we can become addicted and
Stop buying the poop.
But if you are somebody
gamers.
who says I hate DLC and it's stupid, it should go away, and I ask you, have you ever bought DLC, and you say yes, you're part of the problem. Understand that.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same situation
Yeah.
with like gold farmers
Absolutely.
and crap. People are still buying gold in MMOs, but
That's a very good comparison.
then
That's
they
exact-
complain about it.
Yep.
It's not as good as poop smelling soap, but it's pretty close.
I as a supporter of the poop smelling soap, I will admit that I don't complain about it as much.
Yeah,
So because it's your smell,
of course. You like it when
Lord.
it's yours, when it's your soap.
It's absolutely
Business 101, poop smelling soap. Next bit of business is Dragon Fin Soup. It satisfies an appetite for a classic RPG. Part roguelike and part RPG game from Grim Bros is coming to all PlayStation platforms and the PC. Studio Grim Bros has been working on a game for the past 12 months, Dragon Fin Soup. It's heading to the PS3, the PS4, the PS Vita as a cross-buy title. The game is described as a mix of Chocobo Dungeon and Secret of Mana, with the game served as part roguelike and part RPG. The game plays in two modes. Story mode focuses on storytelling, character progression, and plays more like a classic RPG, while survival mode plays more like a roguelike and features permanent death. Features of Dragon Fin Soup include a day-night cycle, random generated quests, crafting, fishing, and more. The game is up on Kickstarter and is likely to reach its $24,000 goal.
which actually for a video game isn't high at all.
No. It's it looks like it's going to be hitting that, and we'll be seeing it. Hope it's good. It sounds good.
Does sound good.
Yeah.
JJ
Does
made a
sound
face when he heard you say permadeath, though.
That's this other part of it though. Like you
Correct.
can either play it that way or play it focused on the story.
Yep.
Next bit of business is longtime Castlevania producer Koji Igarashi leaves Konami.
I've missed that.
Koji Igarashi leaves Konami. The man behind Metroidvania, JJ's favorite type of game, and of the series, is creating his own development studio, which is good news. Maybe we'll get to see more Metroidvania-type games coming our way. Igarashi worked on numerous Castlevania titles in his time at Konami, including Castlevania Symphony of the Night, Castlevania Aria of Sorrow, Castlevania Dawn of Sorrow, and more. He worked on other titles as well, like Automedius, excellent, and Nanobreaker and Lead Me's. The next bit of business we got for the news is The Witcher 3 is no longer coming this year, which, I'm mixed feelings about it.
That's a good thing.
I'm mixed feelings about it because I really, really, really want to play this game.
Are you surprised? I mean, come
No,
on.
I'm not. But, God, I've been wanting to play this game since they showed it at E3 last year.
Hey, Mark, what's the Wild Hunt?
That's
The skeleton in the basement?
it's
Is that what
not.
it was?
It's not the spirit of death.
The highly anticipated sequel has been pushed back into next year. CD Projekt Red announced today that The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt will no longer be released by the end of 2014 as previously planned. Instead, fans of the series can look forward to the installment in February 2015. The developer said that they need a couple more months to reach the level of quality that will satisfy both the team and the fans. While my disappointment is at first great, I think they're doing this right. They're very blizzarding it up. They're blizzarding it
not?
up.
Yeah.
They're doing the Blizzard thing, which is like it'll release when it's ready.
I mean, any game, if you hear about delays, obviously you're going to be disappointed. But when you think about it, and if they're legitimately delaying it because they want to make it better, they want to work out the kinks and do everything they can to make it a good game, I think it's absolutely worth it.
Yeah.
Especially if it's great when it comes out. There
Unless
are
it's-
certain games that are delayed and they come out and they're still crap.
Duke Nukem Forever.
But don't even get me started on that.
I'm excited though. I just want to play it.
Absolutely, yeah.
Our last bit of business. Funny, I should say last because it's about The Last of Us.
That's almost
Is-
funny.
Is heading to the big screen with a live-action film. Naughty Dog's The Last of Us is getting a movie adaptation according to the report by Deadline. And why the beep? No movie will live up to this game's story. Beep off, Holly Weird. But then I actually changed my mind. If it's done right, it could be a good compliment to its canon.
Why? I don't know. I mean, the news was that it's the writers of the original show or the original game. But why? Why condense a game the game was like what 12 hours
Yeah.
probably at least?
To reach a bigger audience.
and they're going to condense it down to 3 hours or less.
Yeah, but that 12 hours, a lot of it was
Okay,
just
no,
walking.
Mark. Obviously, I understand why.
Well,
But Mark,
I just don't think it's going to be
No, Mark.
a service to the story.
let me explain to you why I changed my mind. Imagine a movie not have anything to do with the game, but set in that universe.
I doubt
that's
it.
a sweet.
I doubt that's going to happen.
I mean,
But if it does, that could work.
I mean, like think about it like The Walking Dead meets The Last of Us.
Right.
Hoo-wee.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
we'll just have to wait and see what happens. So
Okay.
I got
still,
some more.
It's still just a rumor at this point, right?
Yeah.
I got some more news, but I only know the headline. You guys
What?
have to fill it in. Was there a patch for Diablo 3 that fixed a lot of problems this week?
Oh yeah.
There you go.
I don't know anything
Someone
about it.
take over?
They took away the. They finally dissolved the auction house. It is no longer.
I thought they got rid of that like forever ago.
Nope. They just did in this patch and greatly increased the rate of legendary drops and loot drops. And the loot that drops is focused for your class. No longer will you be having entire bags full of useless loot.
Yeah.
Me and my brother play a little bit of it, and they're right. They also. The difficulty system is scalable now. It's not like you progress through the story 3 times. You can just literally start right on Torment, which is the hardest one. Then there's Master, Expert, Normal, and Easy. This is in preparation, of course, for Reaper of Souls, which is due out March 25th.
Gotcha. Cool. We got one more thing that we want to announce real quick, and it's just a quick shout out. And Mark is actually going to go over that right now.
All right, doing a quick shout out, as JJ just said.
Is it a quick shout out?
It might be quick unless everyone interrupts me or I get sidetracked, which both are very possible. We like to support charities, like we've supported the Speed Gamers in the past, and so I wanted to bring this to everyone's attention. There's a podcast called The Video Game Show, based out of St. Louis, I believe. They are doing a charity called Tortured for Tots, in which they're raising money for the Child's Play charity, which is an awesome charity I'm sure everyone's already heard of. Basically, they're doing it from April 13th at 9 a.m. until 9 a.m. the next day, and you can pay them $5 for 30-minute increments to make them play any game you want, no matter how terrible it is.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's why they call it Tortured for Tots. You can make them play really, really bad games.
I'm seriously going to call in and make them play Suikoden 2.
$10.
Whoa!
Whoa! Whoa!
Whoa!
Now that's super offensive to me.
They'll probably thank you.
I'm just kidding. I'm at 4.
There you go.
There we
See,
go.
if I feel like that's a great bargain. $10 to force them to play a really bad game for an hour.
That's actually a pretty cool idea.
Romancing
So-
Saga.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. They need you to basically specify a specific time though, and the slots are filling up. So if you want them to suffer, you might want to get on it.
If you want them to suffer.
That's actually a pretty sweet idea. I like that idea.
Very
Yeah,
cool.
it is cool.
So good luck to those guys, and we'll definitely be watching. Well, moving along then. We got our top 5 for the week.
Woo!
And this is our top 5 things that we miss from gaming.
Which we're going to just tear Mark's down. I'm sorry.
I know.
Yeah, we've looked,
been-
like we see our own lists in advance. And well, I actually get to
JJ
first,
sees
which
them
is
before he
sweet.
even makes his list, and then he pulls from our
No,
list.
I don't.
No, he doesn't.
I-
Literally, we only have
There's-
one in common.
Yeah, there's 2 things on there. I have one in common with Brian and one in common with you.
Yeah, JJ's are
Or
actually
you
pretty
did say,
intuitive.
I like that, I'm going to steal that.
I said I might, and I didn't. So
Whatever. The opportunity existed.
you're right. It did exist. Absolutely. But technically, you can still do that too because I email you the notes afterwards, so you
Then
still
I'd
see
have
it.
to edit the document.
You don't have to. You
That's
just tell me, and then I edit it and resend it.
I'll remember that.
I mean, you guys have done it before. So, okay. Our top 5
anyway.
things we miss from gaming. Brian, since you have been gone, why don't you start us off? Actually, you and I can both start us
Let's
off.
do
since
this,
We
'cause-
have the same number 5.
Let's locally co-op this multiplayer together.
Hi-yo.
Hey, that's our number 5.
Number 5, yep.
We miss. You may ask, what does local co-op mean, Brian? I would say to you,
If you play Nintendo, you would know.
well, young chap who was born probably 1995 and on, local co-op is where you sit down in the same room and you play split screen or on the same screen, and you don't have internet and people on headsets, and more personal, a more personal experience with gaming. I miss it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I strangely miss it.
Gauntlet Legends.
Perfect example.
Definitely.
Yep.
Secret of Mana, one of my favorite games of all time. As a single player game, it's okay. It's not bad. It's a fun little romp. But you get 3 people playing together, and it's 3-player Zelda with experience points, leveling up, different equipment, and it's awesome.
Yeah.
So I 100% agree with that. It's just, playing online is great.
Yeah.
But unless, a lot of people don't have headsets, so
Yeah.
you can't talk to anybody else. You play together, you can literally, sit there and look and see what the other person's doing, and you can be like, all right, well, you go over here, you do this, and blah, 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 whatever.
Exactly.
And it's like Brian said, it's a lot more personal experience.
Yeah.
So,
And let me just preface our list by saying that I in no way am saying that gaming is going down a bad path. Mark and I talked about this earlier. We miss these things for gaming, but I like the online. I love it. I think it's going in the right direction. So I just want to put that out there. I'm not one of those grouchy gamers who's like, "Oh, in my day it was way better." No, in my day it was pretty crappy.
Actually,
gaming,
yeah.
If you think about it.
I'm with you, Brian.
no, absolutely.
yeah.
Games
we
are
all
totally
agree.
going in the right direction.
This
So-
isn't us saying
Right.
gaming sucks now and this is why.
Right, and
this
I'm-
is just things that we remember fondly,
Yes.
and we don't see as much anymore.
Yeah.
I just wanted to put that out there because a lot of people, there are a lot of people in our generation who are grumpy gamers who are like, "This generation sucks and I hate it," and it's like, okay,
I feel like Kickstarter and things like that are really helping to scratch that itch a little bit
Yeah.
as well.
Absolutely.
good.
Mark, what's your number 5?
All right. Get your hate mail ready. This is a very polarizing subject.
Yeah.
Built-in cheat codes
What?
in games. Any objections? No?
I don't really have
Not
any objections.
All my glittering prizes a lot in Warcraft.
Yeah.
What do you mean by built-in cheat codes?
Used to be in the old days. It still is a little bit on some PC games, depends on which ones. But used to be that games had built-in cheat codes. You put some combination in on your gamepad, and all of a sudden you're invincible, or you have a bunch more money or armor or whatever. And nowadays, I can't think of, besides GTA, I can't think of a single game series on consoles that has cheats.
There's no way that I would have ever beaten the original Contra without the Konami code.
Yeah, the Konami code.
And it seems like it's going away on PC as well.
Yeah.
You can usually access the console, but a lot of games are starting to restrict that as well.
But
Yeah.
that also has to do with and this is my grumpy old gamer self coming out. But games have gotten a lot easier since we were
Sure,
kids.
that's true.
I go
That's
back
true.
to games that I played as a kid, and I'm like, oh my god.
And I don't want cheat codes back because I need to use them in every game. I just
I
want the option.
I don't know if it's that games have become easier, though. I think it's just because we have access to so many different outlets on that can tell us where to go and what to do.
Guides and
We
stuff.
didn't have the internet and those
Very true.
kind of things back then. So it was like you literally had to figure it out on your
Yeah.
own or know somebody who had done it before.
I think
And that was it.
arcade-style games were definitely harder back
Oh,
then.
yeah.
But that was also part of the system of getting you
more
to come
coins,
back and
yeah.
spend more coins. And
sure.
I probably dumped a fortune into Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles at
Yeah.
Showbiz Pizza back
absolutely.
Simpsons.
then. Yeah. Oh god, yeah.
So you guys didn't disagree, but if anyone out there does, send me all the hate mail.
But,
It's a cheat code. You don't
Mark,
need
yeah.
to use it if you
Yeah.
don't want to.
Yeah. That's
it's
true.
optional.
That's true.
We don't disagree with this one, Mark, but it's coming.
Yeah, it's
We'll
definitely
see.
coming.
It's coming.
Yep.
We'll see.
Mark's number 1 is ridiculous. I'm just going to
Yeah.
preface that.
Well, if I
And-
say
and-
what I wrote down,
And knowing what he just played is funny.
I might not say what I wrote down.
I love
Well,
you, Mark.
actually, in that case, I probably could defend his point. We'll get to it.
Okay, yeah. This is so exciting.
It's good to be back, isn't it, Brian? Brian, what's your number 4?
All right, my number 4 is this is gonna be really weird to a lot of you. It's pre-rendered backgrounds. Looking at them now, I looked at some of the screens. It's awful, but I remember so many good games having them.
We're talking like
We're talking fixed camera angle. There's no
Myst.
moving camera. Myst, Final Fantasy 7, 8, where Resident Evil 1, 2, 3.
worked. You can have hand-drawn backgrounds.
Yeah, I thought it added to the when the games got way more 3D, like in the later Resident Evil games, the contrast is terrible. But I like the art. It was like a paint. You were playing on a painting, or like a cool arty farty. I miss Pre-Window
There you go.
backgrounds.
Brian's number 4.
I
He misses the arty
subscribe to
farty.
his opinion.
Huh?
I was just saying I subscribe.
I subscribe to.
Okay.
Who's
Mark, you and I have the same number 4.
Oh yeah.
What's our number 4?
Overworlds.
World maps. Heck yeah, man.
Right, Brian? Right?
I'm not a fan of them, but I respect yours.
I miss it.
I miss it 100%. It gives you a sense of scope. We talked about it a little bit before. Final Fantasy VII, great
Yeah.
example.
Yeah.
You play through Midgar, and that's cool on its own. That game could have, we've said it a million times, that game could have been all Midgar. It still would have been cool.
Mm-hmm.
But when you get to that certain point, you go through the Shinra building, go and do the motorcycle chase and all that stuff. You hop out, and all of a sudden the world map shows up, and you're like,
Yeah.
whoa.
And that 4-hour section of the game with multiple areas that seemed huge is just a dot on the map.
Yep.
And I finally think I get the appeal. Let me explain to you why I don't understand your love for world maps. Is I've never understood. I always thought it was like just a room, a room that you were a giant in, and there were little tiny towns. I was like,
And I could see that.
Well, let me
let
me argue with even that idea.
no.
Mass Effect 3.
Right.
Are you saying my ship is the same size as a planet?
No, but I didn't see the need
It's
for
it's scale. You understand that it's not
right.
to scale.
I know. I understand, but I understand why you like it because it gives you the artificial. What word am I looking for? It gives you the artificial seeming of scope of like because really you're just in a room that looks like a globe.
Well, yeah.
But I understand that now. So I kind of actually
You really have to think about it in terms of like realistically. Like,
Yeah.
if you're traveling from one town to another on foot,
yeah.
all over a planet, it's not going to take you 30, 40 seconds like it does in the game.
Right.
It's going to be, days, weeks, even months.
And it took me a
Walking
while
there.
to wrap my head around what you guys were saying because I would rather just be open world and actually have it be scope. You know what I mean? But obviously back then that was beyond technology.
That's one of the reasons I really like the Tales series so much. And I mean, the newer games don't have world maps, in the same way that the older ones did. But you'd be walking on the world map, and if you ever played a Tales game, they have skits where your characters' little portraits will pop up on screen. They'll start talking to each other, and they added little vignettes, little skits in between each area to
That's
kind of just
cool.
add to the story and show that your characters are still communicating, things are still happening.
That's
as you're
actually
moving.
really cool. I like that.
And that's how that's every Tales game has
Right.
that. It's great. Being able to explore the world,
Yeah.
from top down, looking at the world map, being seeing this northern continent that's all covered in ice, the frozen north.
Yeah.
Ha!
Hey.
Being like, man, I want to get over there. I want to check that out. Oh my gosh, look at this area over here. I want to check that out.
And I finally
it sort of hails back to pen and paper games, playing on a grid, having a little character to represent what's happening.
Definitely.
I finally get what I see what you guys are saying with world maps, and while I would rather we have open world, I get back then that they couldn't do that, so that was a good way to give you artificial scope of the world.
Get if you don't have Bravely Default yet, do you?
No, not yet.
When you get it, because I'm sure you'll check it out eventually, right?
Yeah, God, yeah.
That does have a world map, brings it back, and I think it does it pretty well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
honestly.
it does. And it kind of fits into Brian's number 4 as well. It has a really awesome handcrafted feel to it.
Yeah,
Good.
definitely. All right. So, moving on to our number 3s. Brian, what's your number 3?
my number 3, which is kind of a two-parter between 3 and 2, but let me explain. My first one is the age when reviews got big. Let me explain. Back when we were kids, reviews were kind of a niche market where it was like you could go online and AOL beep boop beep boop beep boop beep, beep dial up.
I remember I used to read GameRevolution.com
Yep.
back in the day.
I had Nintendo Power and Game Pro.
Yep.
My magazines.
And you didn't use reviews as a gospel,
Sure, yeah.
like nowadays, and I'm just as guilty as anybody else. I'll go and a game will get released, and like 4 days before it gets released, even IGN will have a review. All the big money review sites will already have the review out. And I'll be like, oh, man, I got a 6.5. But my brother and I have found that when we come back to those games, maybe after they drop in price, we're like, how did that get rated as 6.5? That was awesome. And back then, you didn't have that problem. You just tried the game out. Hey, maybe it was crap, and maybe those reviews were right, but you didn't have that shell shock of, you're like, I remember going into Best Buy, wanting to get a new game. I didn't know. I was like, oh, looking at my reviews, and I can't get that one. And I don't know. Maybe I missed a gym.
I agree. I don't personally. I don't really take too much stock in other people's reviews. I find it interesting, but I mean, if a game looks cool, I'm going to play it regardless of what somebody else says about it.
I wish I could say that. I know nowadays I don't want to spend my money on a game that got like a 4 or a 5, and I want to know why it got a 4 or a 5, and I don't have that sense of like, let me try this game out. It might be awesome.
I like reviews.
Perfect example. Lightning Returns. I mean, it's not getting the greatest reviews in the world at all. A lot of people are not liking it. I'm still going to buy it. I'm still going to play it regardless.
Sure, yeah, that happens.
I didn't say I didn't like reviews. I said I don't like that reviews got big.
You
I
don't like it's like
I don't like that that it's literally
like a game
comp-
review industrial complex.
That's exactly
almost.
what I hate.
And it gets even worse than that. Remember, it was like 5 years ago, a reviewer at GameSpot
Yeah.
gave a bad review to a game that had apparently paid them for a good review, and they got fired.
Yep.
Yeah.
And let me explain. And even the ones that aren't getting paid to review the games good, and they are. If you think that these companies aren't getting a little kickback for making a game review high, you're stupid. You don't.
Whoa.
I'm sorry.
Sorry, listeners.
But I've had people say they don't do that,
that,
and
have
I'm like,
different opinions.
do you really think a company would give a game to another company and say trash it so we get bad sales? No, they get kickback.
Yeah.
It happens. However,
I don't know how
there's-
widespread it is, but it definitely has happened.
The bigger ones. But my problem with bit review as an industrial complex is hive mind reviews, where everybody drones on the same thing. For an example, I played Batman Arkham Origins recently. It got weirdly worse reviews than the other games, and I have literally I have no idea why. It was better story than Arkham City, just as good gameplay, and so I'm sitting there and I'm like, how? Like, what's the criteria here? Like,
I think some people were concerned about it being made by a different developer.
but that should it was
But,
still
right, it's still people thinking of meta stuff that actually has nothing
that has
to do
nothing
with the
to do
game.
with the actual game, and it becomes a hive mind effect where everybody's like, well, it's not this game, so I
Right,
must give it an 8.5.
And
Just like
we've all been in a situation where we played a game and we thought it was great, and then we read some reviews and we're like, wait a minute,
yeah, exactly.
I do hate that.
No, I understand. All right, well, we'll move on.
Okay.
My number 3, printed instruction booklets.
They are going away.
Now you know, most of the time you get a new game, you pop open the case and you see like, here's a code to download some
New guns.
DLC or download something off of our website or to look at screenshots on this website or something like that. There's no instruction booklet in the thing. It's going to be either built in the game or you have to go to their website to look it up. I loved opening it up, and the first thing I wanted to do was look at the instruction booklet, see like character bios,
Oh, yeah.
background story, heck, even look at the controls sometimes, and just heck, when Final Fantasy II on Super Nintendo first came out, it had like probably a third of the game in there, all the way up until Cecil became a paladin, and that was awesome. It was like a whole freaking game guide inside of it. And now I'm not saying instruction booklets need to do that,
Right.
but character bios and background story, I think, are amazing and essential. You know, especially if the game doesn't do that great of a job relaying that on its own. I love having that physical instruction booklet and not. I mean, honestly, since most companies have stopped doing that, I almost never ever look at any of the other junk in there, unless it's like a DLC that says like unlock this character or unlock this new job or something like that. I don't even mess with it. I just ignore it completely.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
Instruction booklets were some of my favorite things to go poop with.
I have a memory of when I was a kid, I was on vacation at the lake, and I bought StarCraft.
Oh,
No reviews. First of all, taking a complete risk. It's just the
Yep.
box art looked cool,
awesome.
and I didn't have a computer at the lake, so the entire week I was there, I was just looking at the manual, and I thought it was the coolest thing ever.
We need to one of these years go back to the lake and do
Yeah.
that. I obviously can't stay in the same place.
Yeah.
But like that was always fun. It's funny because like I mean I went with you 3 times?
2 or 3 times, yeah.
And I think we are like the
Party.
that small group who's like, we're going to the lake, it's going to be awesome.
Yes.
And then we stay inside and watch anime and play video games.
Yep. And everyone else
But
is
it was a
like,
blast.
"Why-
We
why did
loved
you
it."
come?"
Real
awesome.
Real
Yeah.
quick, we must be brothers from other mothers because when I lived in Baldwin, there was a couple of friends of ours. We did the same thing. They had a lake house, and what did we do? We're going to the lake house. Pack your computers.
Yeah, I mean that's
Yep.
pretty much
Yep.
what we did. We played Fatal Frame.
That was awesome.
Terrifying.
Those
but
were
it was
good
so
times.
Great.
Playing through all of Beyond Good and Evil,
Beyond
getting
Good and Evil?
frustrated at the boss.
Oh wow,
Growl Lancer. Man, it was good times.
man, that's cool. We did the same thing. I like it.
was
But
good
we didn't
stuff.
even know each other at the time. That's cool.
Sure enough. Whose turn is it?
I believe
Mark's. Mark's number 3.
My number 3, no DLC.
they were called expansion packs back
This
then.
is
I
the one that I
remember-
almost stole from him.
I
Yeah.
remember when I could buy a game and it had the whole game in it,
yeah.
Yep.
and I could just play it.
Yep.
And I didn't have to worry about where I pre-ordered it, so I could get the special armor pack
Yep.
or some power-up. I could just buy it wherever. And I didn't have to worry about loaning it to a friend and them having to download a key to have their own multiplayer and have to pay $5 for it. They could just play the multiplayer.
Yep. Yeah, it was ridiculous.
or a CD hack.
Do you guys, and this is kind of something I was thinking about when I first saw that you had put this on your list, going along with what we talked about earlier with microtransactions, do you think DLC is kind of the father of microtransactions?
Of course.
Yes,
Think so?
Well,
absolutely.
the age of the internet is the digital age is the the bearer of the DLC, and then the DLC is the bearer of the microtransactions. It's easier to deliver content now.
In reality, those are just words. And if I buy a game on Steam and download it, that's DLC technically.
Yep.
But it's the negative connotation, the specific thing that we're thinking about that I don't like.
Well, they're talking about chopping up an expansion pack
Right.
into like 3 parts and calling
Right.
it DLC.
Yeah.
You know,
Ridiculous.
Selling you
Yeah.
a game piecemeal, essentially.
Yep.
Amen. And I mean, we'll get into it on the next episode of Mass Effect 3.
I have
is
a
perfect
rant.
example.
A huge rant.
So, all right, moving right along. Number 2, Brian, hit us up.
My number 2 is goes along with number 3, renting games. My mother used to take me and my brothers to Blockbuster. Poor Blockbuster. And
Rest in peace.
we would all just go, and this is actually how we discovered Final Fantasy II, a.k.a. Final Fantasy IV. The box looked cool. Let's try it out. Boom, grab it. We grabbed that. We got the games like Rampart. Nice little 2-player game.
Oh, Rampart.
Yeah.
We used to play 3.
Yeah.
Me, Matt, and his
Blow each
brother.
other, build the castle, blow it up.
You listeners don't know who Matt is, but Mark and I do, and that's all
He's
that
a special
matters.
guy.
But renting games, it's not the same anymore. Now you got things like Redbox, and honestly, you can buy games on Steam for the price that you can rent a game now. So it's like there's no experimentation. You look at the game, you go, okay,
Oh, there's plenty of experimentation.
Well,
I buy hundreds of games a year, and I never play in a third of them.
well, hear me out. It's like
true.
if a game is crappy, gets crappy ratings, these are the 1 or 2 things you're going to do: not buy it, or buy it. Right?
Sure.
There's
Yeah.
not. You're not going to. Oh, I'm going to rent this crappy game. If you're not going to waste your time on it, you're just going to say yes, yeah, whatever.
Well, I might.
Really?
For example, Thief.
Okay.
Thief didn't get stellar reviews. I'd still like to see what it's all about, though.
So you're going to rent it?
So I might rent it.
You won't rent it.
That's true. That's actually exactly. you'll say I might, and then you just
won't.
go and play another game.
Yeah, you'll just.
So you're right.
You did say that this kind of went hand in hand with your last one, right? The age before the reviews got
Yeah.
big. So I mean, how?
You nowadays, like I said, if you are going to rent a game, let's say you're going to go into Redbox, right? And you're like, oh man, Call of Duty, that got awesome review. You're going to buy it. You're not going to rent it. Who rents it?
Well, nowadays Call of Duty is probably a bad example because everybody knows what to expect.
What I'm saying is you already know
Yeah.
before the game comes out whether or not you're going to purchase it or not.
Absolutely.
And now there are obviously rare exceptions to people are going to call, say, hey, I rent games. I'm not saying that renting games is dead. I'm just saying it's definitely not like it used to be.
Right. You're talking about
Going
back in the
into-
old days when you would go into games blind.
Oh,
and
and-
you just
yeah.
wanted to see what it was and get to know it.
Looking at the back of the box, hello, that doesn't happen anymore.
Right.
It's like, oh, look at the back of the box. Oh, look at that. Whoa, cool.
So you're looking for
No,
like
you're
that
right.
childhood charm that
Without-
used to
yeah.
exist in gaming.
Yeah, without going, oh yeah, this game is coming out in 2 days.
just been-
I'm going to rent it, even though I already know the review got crap. No, not gonna
I got you.
Yep. All right, moving along. My number 2. I miss backwards compatibility.
It's a great one. I can't
Nice.
believe I forgot about it. Yeah.
I understand in some cases it obviously can't be done. Like obviously, the GameCube would not be able to play Nintendo 64 games,
Sure.
but like PlayStation, like why can't my PS3 play PS2 games? Why can't the PS4, go back? I mean, I know they're coming out with the new streaming thing, which if it works and it works great, then awesome. That'll be fantastic. But like I honestly, I probably would have skipped buying an Xbox 360 and just gone for the Xbox One if I knew that it could play my 360 games. And it would just make it easier on the game. And how many people want to be like, well, I'll turn this one in for credit. And I know that's not going to be that lucrative for the company, but it's also not going to hurt it that much to do
Yep.
it. You know what I mean? I think it's just something that should be, unless there is something physically preventing it from happening, like, change from a cartridge to a disc.
They're actually like sometimes they had an ATI graphics card. and
There are
run, and then they
technical
have a-
reasons why it can't happen, but it's not. You can build it into the you can build
Absolutely.
it into
There's
to the hard.
always ways around it.
Yeah.
And I think that if it can be done, it should be done.
Sure.
I think it should be a requirement if you are able to do
Heck,
it.
here's a middle ground. Maybe offer a higher end version of the console that has backwards compatibility. Pay $50 more to get this one that can also play all your old games.
Absolutely. And I
Yeah.
would totally do it. 100%.
Yeah.
Because I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm a collector, so I love keeping my old consoles around and stuff, but I also don't want to have to bust out the old console
Yeah.
every time I want to play one of the
Exactly.
old games. You know what I mean?
Oh, gotta plug that one in.
Oh,
get the
gotta
AV
find my
get the-
PlayStation 2 controller.
Get
Where'd
the
I put
AV
that?
cords.
Uh-oh, where'd I put my hard drive or my save cartridge?
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
All right then. Mark,
Mark, you're number
All
2.
right,
You're
my
number
number
two.
two.
You got some splaining to do,
I-
Lucy.
no, this one?
Yeah.
I got splaining to do with this one?
Yeah.
Deep leveling.
Okay.
I remember when you leveled up, it was a process. You had to go into the menu. You had to decide, oh, I have like 4 stat points now. And I have to decide if I want to put that in strength or dexterity or intelligence or whatever else you have. And then I had to choose all my skills. And it wasn't like how it is now, where Skyrim is, oh, I want to increase my health and then I want to choose this perk. Done. You actually had to spend some time thinking about what you were doing and making
in all
real
honesty,
choices.
to me, both of those sound very similar.
I'm having trouble. I know what Mark's trying to say.
Well, no, look at the difference between the first Diablo and Diablo 3.
You mean a little more in depth than they are now? I understand.
You just have a
Yeah.
linear progression of skills in Diablo 3, and in the first one, you were actually making a character. It was like playing D&D almost.
Yeah. No, I mean,
And
Yeah,
look at the
but-
difference between
but-
look at the difference between Oblivion and
Can I rebut
Skyrim.
Can I rebut McIntyre you really quick about that?
maybe.
World of Warcraft used to have a problem with specs being very. You put points literally into what you're saying. Like, I want to increase my my Sinister Strike percentage of hitting. Right. It was extremely in depth. Here's the problem: in order to be good, you had to go down one path. Like, if you make a
Well,
wizard,
sure, that's classic min-maxing.
but that's what I'm saying. If you're a wizard, you're going to put your points into intelligence. If you don't, and you put it into strength, you're going to suck. So what you get is everybody just looking up online. Oh, where's the path?
Cookie cutter.
Where's the path? Cookie cutter. And the problem is they're trying to say, well, everyone's doing the same thing anyway because they're trying to min max. So we're just going to take that part out of it and min max for them and give them options as to what they want to have min maxed already. So you like the min maxing part, and I'm an old Warcraft, I'm an old WoW player, so I do too. But I also rebut that, saying that getting to pick where your points are going are nice. A lot of players are going to find that you really can only put them into one place to be good.
I suppose. I don't necessarily agree with that.
I understand.
Anarchy Online was a good example where you could really customize what you spent your points on, and there are different builds for different scenarios.
Sure.
People would design their character to be good at specific things. And it wasn't just, oh, I'm going to follow this one path. And then Fallout's another good example of really being able to choose what you want to do. And I understand when you get into the class system, it's like, okay, I'm this class, so clearly I'm going to use these skills. But
Right.
I enjoyed a game that felt like there was more freedom, and you actually had to think when you were leveling up.
As a fellow min-maxer, I get what you're saying. I'm just trying
And
to...
I think there's more of a place for it in single
Yeah.
player than multiplayer.
Yeah.
Because then
Definitely. That's what I was just about to say. Yeah, absolutely. Because when you're going against other players,
You have to be...
you've got to be top of the line.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're
Yeah.
going to get slaughtered.
Yeah.
But if you're
That's
playing
very
single
true.
player, yeah, absolutely.
With single player, you can have experimentation more.
I see your point,
I
but
do.
I think I agree with what Brian was saying a lot more in that, I mean, if you do that, you're just going to end up having situations that are worse off where you have to go a certain way anyways.
I think what JJ and I are saying is it's a waste of time for us to go, okay, I know I'm going to put points into
Well,
intelligence,
then you could have
and so just do it for me, and we want more time to play the game rather than...
just auto level.
Right. I see it. I like it. Honestly, your number 2 is not the one
But
that...
it just goes back, and I've said this throughout these 20 episodes, that I miss old school Western
sure?
RPG tropes.
Come here.
And in all honesty, it's not as bad as your number 1. So,
Thanks. Thanks.
all right. Brian, what is your number 1, sir?
My number 1 is something that no one can fix until they have a time machine. Is I just miss, and this past month has really brought it to light. I miss being a kid and actually having time to game, like whenever I wanted.
That's
Like, I seriously, I have had gaming is my passion. I'm extremely passionate about it, but Unfortunately, I'm a responsible adult and I have responsibilities. Oh my god. And as much as I'd love to shirk them and just binge game, I can't. And I was just thinking about, the other day, I really want to finish Xenogears, but I was telling JJ today, I have like maybe 2 hours a night, maybe for free time, if I don't want, if I want to, and I want to play that game for like 6 hours.
And you have to split your downstairs game, your
Yeah!
middle floor game, and your upstairs
No,
game.
See, my memory isn't the same as what you've described. I remember coming home and being told you can play video games for 2 hours, and then you have to do your homework. And I remember not having money, so I couldn't buy the games I wanted unless I saved up for 6 months.
I had my dad despises video games, still does to this day. He's not a fan of them, but the problem was that I had a computer in my room,
Right.
and I would, I loved playing outside too. Don't get me wrong, I wasn't like an indoor kid, but
That's when he used his handhelds. He would
Yeah.
go to the park and stuff, and he'd bring his Game Boy.
but he'd be my parents would be, go to your room, and I'd be like, okay, all right.
You
And I
say so.
Yeah, and on those games I played were like shareware versions,
Okay, yeah, I gotcha.
So, but I had the same childhood where it was like, no, you're not playing for 4 hours straight. But as a kid, on a weekend, you had like, do whatever you want.
or summer. And
Right.
now you've got all the time
No,
you
I don't.
could possibly handle.
Exactly.
Yep. All right, then. My number one, turn-based combat. Now, it's not just turn-based combat specifically that I miss. And I know there are a few games that are coming out that still do it, especially indie games are bringing it back a lot more than the big name titles. Bravely Default, I love that it has it in there. But what I really miss is I miss being able to plan out my strategy and think about what move I'm going to be making next and taking the time to do that. And I also miss being able to control my other party members. Not like, I think it's cool what they're doing with AI now, where you just set your other party members to do a certain action, and it's like, oh, cool, I control this one guy, and the computer takes care of the rest. That's cool that they can do that, but I honestly liked going through the menus and selecting what each character was going to be doing, and feeling like I controlled the entire flow of battle through my entire party, and not just one character, hoping that the rest of the guys are going to do their bit. I can totally see both ways, and both have their merits, absolutely. But me personally, I miss the old way of just being able to have my hand in everything.
Here. That's what she said. Here.
When I played Mass Effect 3 as an engineer, it was almost like I was playing a turn-based game. Because as soon as my power's recharged, I go into the wheel, the game pauses, and I choose what all three characters are going to do. And then I wait, I go back in, same thing.
And it's so satisfying when you queue it all up and it all happens. You're like, whoa.
So it was almost exactly what you described.
Yeah.
The feeling I got.
That's great. All right, here we go. Mark, why don't you go ahead and tell us what your number one is?
My number one thing that I miss from gaming.
I like how JJ and I both were questioning this, like when it.
That was 7 words. 7 words does not constitute a rant.
I know. I should have gotten in there sooner.
Man, I miss having 108 stars of Destiny
Oh,
in my
okay.
games. I miss it. Where? No, my actual what I wrote down was ensemble cast,
Well, why don't you explain
and I was
it?
thoroughly challenged by these two before we recorded.
Can I explain why? Because we're talking about it. I see JJ sends us the notes, as he says early, and Mark is in the middle of talking about Mass Effect 3. And I see his number one, and I'm like, but you're playing a game with an ensemble cast. So I was confused. But Mark explained it a little bit better, and basically what it means is a bigger ensemble cast.
I don't know if I should say anything because I can feel them.
Honestly,
I can feel their energy just
well,
ready
no,
to.
actually, in your defense in this situation, Mass Effect 3 really doesn't have that much of an ensemble cast.
No, it's small, sure.
As far as they're all supporting Shepard, and Shepard is the main
Right.
focus.
It's
And
a
that's
supporting cast.
Correct. Ensemble, what he means is like Final Fantasy VI.
Mm-hmm.
So
No main character. Everybody
questionable
has
main
their
character.
own bit to play.
Sure.
Right.
And Mass Effect, it really isn't like that. It's all about what can this person do for Shepard.
Sure.
I think JRPGs are closer to what I described just in general because you always have such a big emphasis on growing your party and sticking by your characters. But in Western RPGs, this is almost non-existent. Skyrim, where's the ensemble cast? Fallout, where's the ensemble cast?
Oh, thank God. I thought you were going to start talking about what's-his-face again.
Who?
from Skyrim.
Esbern.
Esbern.
Oh, good old Esbern. Let me tell you, that's an ensemble cast right there. Woo!
Yeah.
Keeping him with, he was with me through thick and thin.
Oh my god.
So rather than ensemble cast, Mark, what I think you're trying to say is you don't like the definition of a main character. You like it to be more or less a cast of main characters.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, that's what ensemble is.
You need to play a Tales game.
And
sure.
Where this idea came from was the interview last week,
Okay.
talking about how we've gone to such a focus on the singular character and his power overcoming
Sure.
challenges, rather than growing
groups.
a team and overcome challenges with teamwork. And Mass Effect is definitely sort of an exception.
Right. Well, there's going to be exceptions, but I definitely think of Western games, like even The Witcher coming out. It's all about Geralt. You know, I mean, while there's other cast members, I think what you're saying is you like it to be like Final Fantasy VI. You like it to be where there's not a singular focus on a single character, like JJ
Right.
was saying. It's pretty much all about Shepard. Even though everybody has their own story, it's all looping around to help Shepard defeat the Reapers. As whereas a game like Final Fantasy VI, which I've never played, I see it more or less as each character has an equally important role and story
Yes.
and backstory.
Absolutely.
Okay, I like it.
Man, I didn't get torn apart as much as I expected to.
Well, no, because I kind of see your point.
I
but
do.
Just the fact that you put it down as ensemble cast was a little like, what?
If you
What?
look up the
That's a
literal
movie term.
if
I'm
you look
sorry.
up-
Come
but-
on, it's
but
a movie term.
If you look up the literal definition to ensemble cast, you're describing almost every game in the history of games. That's the only reason.
I'm
he's
going
right.
to look it up right now.
All right, so that's our top five. Top five things we missed from gaming. If you have any comments, questions, concerns that you would like to let air out and give us crap about or agree with us,
I
please
really
email
want
us.
hate mail from someone, for any of us.
I would like to see some hate mail from Mark for this week, just because.
That's fine. I would
just
too.
the hate mail can just include the definition to ensemble, and then
There you go.
that's it.
All right, well, I think that about wraps it up. Do you guys have anything else for this week? Nope.
An ensemble cast is made up of cast members in which the principal actors and performers are assigned roughly equal amounts of importance and screen time in a dramatic production.
Yeah. So Mass Effect would not be
Yeah.
an ensemble cast.
Okay.
I
Can you
was
guys
on
see
your
my
side.
arms?
I was on your side.
Do this.
I'm holding my arms up,
Do
and
this.
I'm like, what? What?
All right, Mark.
What do you
win.
think?
Hey,
Don't
Mark,
even-
you win this round, sir.
Woo! I needed a win.
Yeah.
All right. Anybody have anything else?
I am so glad to have Brian back.
Thanks, guys.
I haven't heard any weird noises though, so that's there we go.
There it is.
There it is. We're back. All right. Well, with that, we're going to go ahead and wrap up episode 20, and we will see you 1 week from now. I'm going weekly.
Yeah, but
See
I
you
feel
in 1
so
minute.
I feel so excited about this, like literally so excited.
All right.
What
guys.
would it be if you were figuratively excited?
I'd be like this.
Oh boy. My name is JJ.
My name is Mark.
Be Wyan.
Thank you very much for listening. Yet again, 20 episodes. Hopefully, we'll get 20 more going here soon, and keep on gaming.
This song was made available via the Creative Commons Attribution License. The song, Somewhere in the Stars, was written and produced by SoundCloud user _TWC.